The Anaheim Ducks are looking for scoring help, but guess what? Trevor Zegras is back and better than ever. We have all that and more coming up on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. And, of course, want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas to those who are celebrating today. And it's my pleasure to welcome back to the show, long overdue. It's been too long since we've had you. The host of Locked On Anaheim Ducks, Jason J.D. Hernandez, and welcome back.
Thank you very much, Gil. It's good to be back, and good to be back talking about Ducks hockey, at least fun Ducks hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, let's start with the beginning here. This team struggling a little bit to score goals, and I guess that's not a shock coming into this season, but injuries are certainly a part of it, but what else has been the reason for this team's offensive struggles so far?
I'm going to start with injuries because that has been a key, and it's not just number of injuries. It's been key injuries. It's been to key guys. You think about a guy like Trevor Zegras, who had been out for a while. He's finally back. We'll talk about him in a second. But I want to talk about Mason McTavish being out. McTavish was part of the best line. He's not back, but McTavish is part of that top line. Well, it's the second line, but top line of Vatrano, Strome, and McTavish. That line is leading the team pretty much in all metrics and all scoring metrics. And as soon as McTavish went down, so did that line. But you got to think about, Z being out. I mean, that's a pretty big loss as well. And even going further back, Isaac Lundestrom, he's been hurt for pretty much the entire season. To lose that kind of depth scoring is never good for any team. And the newest pickup, Alex Killorn, he had been out for a while as well. So it's really just the types and the players, the certain players that are injured. I mean, if you're a team that loses half of their top six, of course you're going to struggle. I mean, that's half your offense right there. So that's part of why they've been struggling to put the puck in the net. Another thing is a new system. This is a new system they're working on. They have a new coach in Greg Cronin, who I think has done a fairly good job considering the personnel that he has, considering what he inherited from Dallas Eakins. I mean, look, under Dallas Eakins, this team was, to put it correctly, historically bad. They were very historically bad. So Cronin inherited a dumpster fire on top of the Pacific landfill, whatever you call it now. It's all bad.
But you are seeing some progress in your mind offensively under this new system.
There is some progress, and there has been some progress made in the last couple of weeks. Now that people are coming back, we're starting to see a little bit better job on the penalty kill. We're seeing a better job on the power play as well. Penalty kill is looking better, but power play is looking slightly more organized. So that's kind of a plus. I mean, at this point of the season, it's baby steps, Gil. It's just all little incremental things. Last season, it was more doom and gloom. Like, we knew the Ducks were going to be bad. This season, the expectations are slightly higher, but this team is more fun. And this team is getting in a lot closer games, a lot more one-goal games. So there is hope for optimism with this Ducks team. I think they're going to kind of turn it around a little bit, but it is still going to take time. I've been telling Ducks fans, patience, be patient. They will get there.
Well, one reason for more optimism, as you mentioned, Trevor Zegras back in the lineup. and he scores another one of the Michigan goals over the weekend. I mean, just an incredible play by him. 4 or 5 defenders all around the net, and he ends up beating them all and making that move and putting it over the shoulder of the goaltender. I mean, he is so exciting to watch, and it's great to have him back healthy and in the lineup.
Oh, that's why you have me back now. Zegras did something cool. I'm kidding. No, Zegras. First off, a little bit of background. So Z has done these kind of trick merchant plays several times in his career. He had the flying Z or the alley-oop in Buffalo. He had the first lacrosse. He had the lacrosse against Montreal a couple seasons ago. This season, he does it against someone that I'm familiar with, Joey Daccord. Joey Daccord was the number 1 goaltender for the team I do PA for, the Coachella Valley Firebirds. And Daccord is now the number 1 goaltender for the Seattle Kraken. And to see Zegras do this against Joey Daccord, at first I had mixed feelings and I was like, oh, that was nice. And wait, all of you blowing up my phone while I'm doing the teddy bear toss game, I'm like, what the F is going on? I'm like, oh, that's sick. And this after Connor Bedard had done it earlier in the day. But the funny thing is that someone did tell him. He was also interviewed before the game by Ali Lozoff, the Ducks reporter. And she said, all I want for Christmas is one of those highlight goals. And he said, I'll see what I can do. And he big fat did it. So a lot of like little background going into why he said, you know what? I'm going to try this right now. I'm going to pull it off. And he did over the shoulder of Joey Daccord. I mean, it was a fantastic goal. He did it in stride, picked it up on the blade. I mean, thing of beauty, his like 11 billionth trick goal in his career. And as I've said several times on this podcast, the point is to score goals. I don't care about all 31 other teams that say, oh, he's just in it for the trick shots. No, he's in it to score. He wants to score more goals. That's that number 1 point right there. You're looking for more goals. Get it any way you can.
And certainly getting it in spectacular fashion doesn't hurt every once in a while. But okay, you mentioned earlier this team is rebuilding, that it's a little more fun so far this year than it was a year ago. What's the next step? What has to happen in the 2024 part of this season to make it a successful rest of the year for the Anaheim Ducks?
They need to get fully healthy. They just lost Leo Carlsson. For 4 to 6 weeks. So that is the official update, 4 to 6 weeks. The number 2 overall draft pick. Carlsson also part of that top 6. Once he gets healthy, once Lundestrom gets healthy, then they're going to need to have better puck control, better puck movement, something that we were seeing improvements for. And now that I think everyone is back, now that the full complement of the power play unit is almost all back, you have Terry, you have Jamie Drysdale is back on a power play unit, by the way. Drysdale had only played 2 games this season prior to when he just came back. So now that you have that big time quarterback on the power play, that is starting to improve little by little as well. So I think health is going to be a big thing, but learning to gel together. Don't forget, a lot of these guys have not played a whole lot together in this season at all. So, Z losing time in training camp, Drysdale losing time in training camp, that hurts. So that's one of my things. Like once they all just mesh and get used to where the other player is. And as you know, like those kind of passes are very important. And those kind of like setting up plays, perfect passes across the Royal Road, getting pucks in towards the net, finding the perfect pass. All of those little factors are going to help the Ducks, I think, coming up this season. Hopefully, it'll help them coming up this season. I have hope. That's my Christmas wish.
All right. Well, that's hopefully a realistic Christmas wish for you. Jason, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
They can find the socials at StimpyJD, and the show's Twitter/X is at LO_Ducks. And you could find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, free and available. And be sure to look for us there. And you can also find me doing public address for the Firebirds at Acrisure Arena every game. So all that is
great to have you here. Want to wish you and yours a very
and by
Merry
the way,
Christmas.
I love Merry Christmas. I love that. Especially like we matched today.
Yeah, and we didn't plan it either.
Matching jackets today. How? No, we didn't. Yes, we did. I'm kidding, folks.
All right, Jason. Thank you so much.
We didn't really.
No, we didn't coordinate.
Of course, Gil.